Welcome to part 3 of my video on how to improve your house with DIY and make your home more energy efficient. Okay, so downstairs we discussed radiators and pipe work, basically penetrations in flooring, and now we're upstairs. We don't have any underfloor ventilation blowing up, but it is also important to seal your pipe work using decorator's caulk. Remove the carpet, seal all the way around the pipe work. This prevents heat escaping through that area. Well, we're in the bathroom. There are some big pipes, especially behind the toilet, to seal all the way around. That could be a source of any drafts entering your home, especially if the outside isn't sealed. As we discussed in part 1, you could definitely get a few unwanted drafts in that area. We've got a bathroom sink unit. There are pipes in there which need to be sealed. And then there's the bath side. Remove that. Go find the pipe work and seal it to the floor and to the wall. You never know what's going to drag your property down, thermally speaking. Well, moving on to windows. Next issue with windows is you get little cracks there. Seal all them up. I have done this window before with decorator's caulk. It seems to always need redoing. Your caulk will shrink, and obviously a touching is desirable. Be sure to do the underneath of the window. Get your head down, have a good look. It certainly pays. You can quite often find hidden gaps in that area. Also, open the window and visually inspect the quality of the window seals here. See, that one got a bit of damage to it. It's not feeling as springy as fresh rubber normally does. That could do with replacing. And here we have a cupboard. This used to be the boiler cupboard, but when we did the house extension it was redundant. As you can see, it's full of things. But what I want to show you is the ceiling. We've got pipe work in here. I've sealed round that. There were some unsightly pipe holes left by the plumber. They all helped let warm air into the loft, causing a drain. And there's quite a bit of gear in here, so it's a difficult one to do. I sealed the cable in there. And also there is an arc drive there. I've sealed that all with caulk. Same, we go back to the dry lining problem of it allowing heat to escape through the walls. Look for any cracks in your doorway, your door casing. Quite often there are plenty of cracks to fill. The top of the door is a very out of sight area that needs inspecting and sealing, just to prevent heat going up behind the plasterwork in this case, as you get with a dry lined property. Obviously seal all the gaps in the woodwork. If you push in with the caulk gun, it will fill the gap as you go. That saves quite a bit of time, that tip. If you look to the right of the door, difficult to see. See, that's a very hard to access area because it's in such close proximity to the wall. So it's a very difficult area to fill. I'm actually still on with that, but it's been more or less ignored since this door went in. Moving on to the hallway, you can notice we have quite a few GU10 lights fitted. These are very good at letting the warm air escape from your property. What I've actually done with these is remove the fittings and caulk around the base of the GU10. Unfortunately, you can't use traditional bulbs once you've done treatment to them. You have to use the LED low power bulbs. I've also fitted, just put it in shot of the camera, I've also fitted loft covers above the GU10s. These are great. The cable goes out of any of the 4 holes, a bead of silicone sealant round, and then these go in your loft, and then you're able to apply loft insulation over the top of them. Again, you must use low power LED GU10 bulbs, or basically it's going to melt and cause yourself a whole load of problems. Moving on to the loft hatch. This is my loft hatch here. You can get an idea of the outline of it. There is a piece of polystyrene there, but thermally, the weak point, it's only going to be as good as this piece of plastic. So I've got a solution in mind for that, but I'll get back to that because I'm currently upgrading the loft insulation and I haven't got to that stage yet. As you can see, I've got some additional loft insulation there. That's 2 layers which are going over the joists, at 220mm above. The reason we go over the joists is the heat will escape from the wood. Although you may notice I've also got some draft excluder around this loft hatch. That was an improvement I chose, as opposed to replacing it. It's very cheap to do, it costs you very little to do it, and if you can increase the air tightness of your property, you're likely to be in line for some big savings. We've got a cooling fan in the bedroom. There was quite a large hole which the electrician had made for the cable, so that's been filled in with decorator's caulk. That made a noticeable improvement to the temperature of this room. You may be able to see, as you look to the ceiling, there are some lines in the ceiling. That was because the loft insulation had not been correctly fitted. So I can practically see where every timber is. That's now been redone and a noticeable improvement has been made. And also a few cracks in the wall, which, let's see here, they've been filled with decorator's caulk. That'll improve thermal efficiency. Because the problem is the heat escapes into the crack and then out your loft. Now I'm going to get to the big problem with dry lined houses, and that is in the gable end walls. You see we've got a gable end here. The problem is if you've only got loft insulation between your timbers, the beam will end about here, leaving a gap with no insulation. The main problem with the dry lined properties is at the gable end walls there is no insulation, and considering we've got dot and dabs in the wall to affix the plasterboard to, that creates an air duct which heat can escape at either gable end or side and bypass the loft insulation. The solution to this is to get in the loft, get some expanding foam. In the gable end you will find the joint between the plasterboard and the interior wall and fill it in with expanding foam. This will then minimise that air movement. Also, it pays to put an end battening of insulation. I'll move up into the loft and I'll show you some of the things I have done. So here we are at the end wall of the property. You may notice we've got a batten of insulation there. So if any heat wants to escape through there, it has to go through a good 270 mil of insulation. Now, just below that, there is a 220 mil there above the joist, and then there's the original. I'll try and get some light on it. The original loft insulation below it, in between the rafters. I'm currently fitting a raised floor to this loft so we can have insulation underneath. We've got 220 mil of loft insulation below that floor. Now, it's work in progress and I've done the job off camera. And it's basically suspended. Let's go down the ladder. It's a suspended floor. It's basically a suspended floor using loft legs. These are quite good. They screw down 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, and then your flooring sits on top. That enables insulation to be worked under the flooring without compromising the thermal efficiency of your property. Now we're going to proceed up to the loft, and I'm going to show you some of the work carried out on the gable end. Picture of the gable end, you can see there's a little gap at the B. See the gaps there? They're the ones which we're filling with expanding foam. See a gap there? That's a lovely little air vent. And thermally it does your property no good whatsoever, so get it filled in with the expanding foam. These are the internal walls. They're also areas to improve. See, that one's partially filled in, cable, entry points, all filled up. Keep your property nice and tight. And also in the eaves, I had great fun with crawling boards in that area. Be careful. And a few thermal horrors I want to share with you. This was a board which was down a long time, and I think it was original. No loft insulation under the little walkway in the loft, that's what I'm currently raising. You can see the internal partition walls there, pre-air sealing. And a horror story, this is how my loft insulation was left by the builders. It looks fine at a glance, but when we peel back the layers, you can see it was incredibly gappy. You're going to need it all nice and tight. You won't want holes in your bedding when you sleep. It's the same principle for your house. You see the gaps around where the timbers cut through. Thermally, that is absolutely useless. Heat will always find the weakest point. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if this video has been useful to you. I hope